robot voice.
What robot would you want to have? Like from a movie or TV show?
Rosie the robot from the Jetsons, so I have a maid. I don't like cleaning.
I think Wall-E. He's kind of just like a pet.
He would do some cleaning too.
And he's like sad. I like that about him. He's got like
Jesus Christ.
You
want a sad pet? Is that what you're saying?
It's like a little existential crisis. It's cute.
But he wouldn't really be having an existential crisis if he had a human to take care of. He's having an existential crisis because he's alone.
It's true.
And then, what is the Eve? Is that
Eva?
So cute. The movie made me cry.
That's a good movie. I'm trying to think. I don't know.
What's the last Disney movie that did not make you cry?
Hocus Pocus 2.
Sorry, Disney Pixar. Yeah, Hocus Pocus 2's yeah.
It happened.
Yeah.
This is Tommy.
Oh, really? We're going that quick?
Like I don't know. I didn't know that was about robots.
I asked you a question about something, didn't I?
About Pixar?
Yeah. Crying? When's the last? Like.
Oh, I guess the last Disney.
Disney Pixar.
No, not Disney Pixar. The last Disney movie that really got me was Christopher Robin.
Oh, well, I said that didn't make you cry. Did not.
Oh, did not make me cry.
Did not.
Encanto?
Encanto? I haven't seen that one yet.
You haven't seen that yet?
No.
Oh.
I know we don't talk about Bruno. I don't know why.
It's good. It's cute.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
One of my favorite new Disney songs.
We don't talk about Bruno?
Pressure like a drip, drip, drip.
Oh, is that like the Middle Sister song or something?
Oh, yeah, the Buff Sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, I know things about it.
Yeah, that song hit home. Because, she's like...
Is she like big and awkward type thing? Or
well, like she's the rock of the family because of her strength power. So like she always feels like she can't be like emotional or ever wavering because she is the anchor for the family.
It's weird for the middle child. It's generally the oldest child.
Well, it's because she's the
yeah.
Can lift up mountains. And so like when the sister finally kind of is trying to break down these layers, she causes like this huge existential crisis for
that's funny.
For the anchor. That's what the whole song is about, Like, I can't handle the pressure anymore. Mm-hmm. Ready to blow.
Didn't like some like pop punk people like cover that or something?
Yeah, I can't remember who did it, but there's a pop punk version of it. It's pretty sick. And it fits like really well into that genre. It's funny.
Well, let's get into this.
Okay, so now this is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape. Billy, is that you? Get naked and take a shower, man. What's going on? Who was that again?
That's Matt Bronger.
No, it's
Isn't it?
No, it's Pablo Francisco.
Oh, it is Pablo Francisco.
Yeah, little tortilla boy. Yeah, it's Pablo. Man, I haven't thought about Pablo Francisco.
No, neither have I. Man, he just like had that special. I don't know anything else.
We should look him up and see.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Hi, everybody.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our now spooky of the spooky season.
Spookies.
Not the family spooky, but the spooky.
The spookies.
Yep, got that. Hey, got to get that
it's
out.
Like you wait till we're recording,
dude. I'm just like it's like Rick from Rick and Morty, man. Actually, you know who also has a really weird burping problem? Is the blonde girl Courtney in Smosh. She burps in every fucking video. She has like an uncontrollable burp.
Is it like acid reflux thing?
I think me and her have some acid reflux problems, man.
All right.
We could
it's also, I think
relate to that.
You start off this with a Red Bull. That probably doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. But I got to get the caffeine energy going, and it's not going to be coffee.
So if you couldn't guess it, we are going to be doing the Friday the 13th from 2009.
Yeah. So today we're going into 2 remakes, and we decided to start off with Friday the 13th remake because I had seen it, Tommy had not seen it, and I personally do enjoy it, and I was curious what his opinion would be on it. But yes, this remake was released February 9th of 2009, so great Valentine's Day. I think they actually did promote it as like a funny like Valentine's Day like movie to go see. I think it was kind of slightly promoted that way.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know. It's like it's always college kids having sex. And
yeah.
It's a very particular kind of group.
It's a very particular brand.
Yeah, it's kind of on brand.
It's review scores on IMDb. It's got a 5.5. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, a 25% tomato meter reading, and then a 46% audience score. So just middle ground, which I think is actually fitting for this movie. You know,
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to look up like an actual like movie, like a horror movie review website, and to get their opinion on it.
Oh, we had one.
What do you mean?
There was one we used to use back in the day. Like
Well, I just looked up
season.
Fangoria.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, we did used to have one.
There was a really cool one. There was like a whole like Monster Man database.
Yeah,
thing.
I forgot about that.
What
Well,
was
it's
that?
probably it's saved in my stuff for probably like Cursed or something.
Yeah. Okay. God, that'd be fun. Okay.
Hey, you know, every year we kind of, but yeah, I was curious, and like I went on Fangoria, and they don't necessarily have like a score rating that I could find. I didn't fully finish the review as well. I just kind of read through half of it, and their kind of whole like thing was like, yeah, it's okay.
It happened.
Yeah, they're like, if you like, it's like it satisfies if you just want your slasher film type thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay,
Well,
word.
yeah.
Which is kind of what happens with this. Yeah.
Sorry.
You're good.
I have a thought for later.
Box office wise, it actually did really well the first week.
It did.
And then it just kind of like dwindled down. But like domestically, it was number 52. Worldwide, it was number 67. Because this was the second of kind of like the classics of remakes.
Because the original, the first one was Texas.
Texas, which is actually a great remake, still to this day.
Is that the one with Jessica Biel?
Yeah. Well, the people that fucking did that.
Well, I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
It's the Jessica Biel one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How many movies did you have for 2009?
73.
I had 53.
Oh.
I think this is another one of those years where it's like, I know these movies, but I just have not seen these movies.
I had to I recounted because I was realizing I was doing that. I was like, oh, I know this one. I've seen it. And then I was like, wait, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I recounted and I got to 73.
Yeah. So what is Tommy, what is your synopsis for Friday the 13th?
Jason is back in this reboot, retelling, remake. Voorhees is back at killing college kids at Crystal Lake.
Yeah. That's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like,
It's like, is he back or it's like, yeah, he's like,
It's
like,
weird.
is he back or yeah, it's not like he's back, but it's the retelling. That's why I think it is a remake. They're remaking.
yeah, but it's just like,
They remade the first 4 films into one film.
yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I felt like it had this like identity struggle
Really?
in it. Yeah, only in the sense of like, well, we'll get into that later.
All right, fair, yeah. Yeah, let's get into like
remind me of that.
Yeah, let's get into director and writer and all that stuff because the director of this movie was Marcus Nispel, who he directed the Texas Chainsaw remake, and he also directed the Conan the Barbarian remake.
Yeah.
And I think there was another remake in there too. I can't, but his
And lots of music videos.
yeah, I was gonna say his list is just pretty much music videos after music video after music video, starting from like the mid '90s.
Oh, and he did Pathfinder.
Yeah, what the fuck is that? I know that as a tabletop RPG game that I play.
It's just a fantasy. I remember.
I remember reading it every time I like read the description on it. It's like it just screams like fantasy, like a very
kind of generic.
generic. Thank you, generic.
I just remember like
story.
the poster is like some guy with like long hair holding like a spear, and there's like some kind of big cat. No, it's like a Viking guy. I'm getting that confused with 10,000 BC.
Yeah, I was gonna say the BC movie.
Yeah. No, but yeah, there's like a big Viking guy with an axe, and I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I remember I have a weird fever dream of it. But he's like, yeah, he just kind of makes these big Hollywood, oh, it happened kind of movies.
Yeah. It's kind of like, well, he doesn't have a lot of movies that he directed.
Yeah, but even then, it's like you redid Conan the Barbarian.
I mean, see, here's the thing: did he do that? He was asked to direct.
No,
it
yeah, but it's just like, why did we redo Conan the Barbarian?
because Jason Momoa. I don't know.
Is that who's in that?
Yeah, he's Conan.
Oh, is he Conan?
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
you didn't know that?
No, I just refuse to watch the remake. Well, it's just like because Conan, because of when it came out, it's such like
It's like
a
a staple of
Yeah, it's
of
just like a
80s
thing.
culture. Yeah,
Yeah,
of Arnold's career.
Yeah,
like
you
it kind
know-
of like that was actually the thing that kind of like really elevated his career.
when James Earl Jones, and it's like I like as the serpent leader, and you know what I mean, like, and it's such a like a. It's such a thing that I'm like, it didn't, I don't know. I was like, I'm not interested in a remake for that.
It got bombed, apparently. So.
Yeah. But even like original Conan's not that great of a movie, but it's very entertaining.
Have you read any of the comics or like books? I mean,
no.
I wonder if you'd actually, I wonder how, if like, 'cause those were like, that was one of my dad's favorite series. It was like the ongoing Conan adventures type
I could
shit.
get into that.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the writers. And do we want to start off with who created the series first?
Yeah, sure.
Because, I mean, he doesn't really have anything else I saw. Not much else.
Well, it's like also, it was created by Victor Miller and co-created Victor Miller and then also Sean S. Cumming.
Yeah.
But Victor Miller is like the first passover for the original 80s Friday the 13th.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like, he wrote the first movie, but then he just has characters created by, credited going through.
Because of Jason Vorhees.
Because of Jason. But, like, and if anybody who knows the first Friday the 13th movie, spoiler alert, it's not Jason. It's Jason's mother. And that's the big twist in it, is that it's this older woman slaying these teenagers for not protecting her
drowned child.
Her drowned child who has some type of disabilities.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think that that's where this started. And then someone's like, well, have you seen the original Friday the 13th?
Not in a long time, but
do you remember the shock jump scare at the end?
When he jumps out of the lake.
Jason, like, kind of zombified or whatever.
And he's like a little kid.
He still looks like a little kid then, yeah.
Well, because, I guess that had just happened.
Yes. Or no.
It was a little bit after, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit, because this is like, it happened, like, I think it happened
previous summer.
Previous summer. Because now she's just, like, going on revenge for it. And it's just interesting that it's like, then somewhere was just like, well, what if we did a sequel? Well, what do we do for the sequel? Well, what if Jason's actually alive? And we have adult Jason, and he's killing people. And then someone's like, yeah.
So in part 2, is Jason a zombie?
No.
He's just a dude.
Jason isn't a zombie until technically part 5.
We've done this. It's hard for me to like keep it straight. But it's also like even Victor Miller doesn't like the sequels, and he doesn't like Jason being the killer because Jason's the victim. And
yes,
and it's kind of like I get that, but it's also like you don't really have a franchise without Jason, which is an interesting.
Well, no,
thought.
exactly. You don't have a franchise without Jason, but he didn't want it to be a franchise like this.
Yeah, he wanted it to be. Well, it's also interesting that he even admits this is a complete ripoff of Halloween.
Yeah.
Did you watch The Movies That Made Us? The episode on this?
I didn't know there was an episode on some movies.
Yeah, I watched it.
I watched the 8-hour documentary on it.
Oh no, I watched. Okay. Well, I just watched when we played the game.
Yeah.
Well, for any of the Friday the 13th fans out there, for the Friday the 13th game where you can play as either Jason or the counselors, there's that mini game, and it just walks. You go through.
It gives you all of the history.
Yeah, and you like not only for lore but how they were made, but you are walking through the camp in first person, solving puzzles and finding trophies and stuff to unlock more lore. It was actually we sat there for a few hours playing that. It was really fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Well, especially like it's like if you got to like know like little trivia bits about all of the movies, like answers the questions.
The questions and stuff. But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting that like Victor Miller was straight up like, we saw how well Halloween was doing, and we wanted to
kind of do our own spin on that.
Yeah, and we wanted to make money off of it. But our biggest thing is we're gonna do a lot more gore and violence.
Yep.
And I was just like, I have so much respect for you just being like, yeah, no, we totally ripped it off. Yeah, like we had a title.
We saw how successful Halloween was.
Yeah, and it started off with a title.
Yeah,
it just started off with Friday the 13th,
and then they went. And they're like, "Why Friday the 13th?" They're like, "Why not?"
It's bad luck. And then they just ran with it.
Exactly.
And I was like, "That's amazing." And then it became one of like Friday the 13th is one of the highest grossing horror franchises of all. I just love their like. Fuck it, basically.
Well, no, and then like as you get into the history of it, as it starts spinning off all of these sequels, like you kind of like the first 4 kind of have the same exact formula, but then 5, like Jason returns or Jason lives. Yeah, he comes back from the dead actually, and Tommy is part of the story, but then Tommy gets possessed with his soul in like part 6, and then or maybe it's part 7 that happens. So parts 5, 6, and 7. everything is just fucking
Buck wild.
buck wild, like just loose. And then part 8 gets even fucking more bonkers because that's Jason Takes Manhattan, and most of it takes place on a cruise ship heading towards Manhattan Island, and then the very last like 20 minutes of it is actually him in Manhattan fucking is it Times Square in Manhattan, right? Is that right? I don't know. He's just fucking hacking up people in Manhattan. I think it's in Times Square.
I don't know the boroughs well enough of New York.
But yeah, which is just fucking weird. And he's zombified. Like, they made him more grotesque and zombified as each movie went on.
Yeah, it got like more bloated. His mask got more like kind of like like his face growing around the mask and stuff like that.
And then like by part 9, which is Jason Goes to Hell, when he gets blown up by the FBI.
That's my favorite one.
And
I just love the beginning.
And
of
then
that.
like his heart is like possessing people.
Look, the fucking morgue guy eats his heart.
Yeah,
and you're like, okay,
because it's actually Jason is just pure evil that just like inherently brings out like it's fucking.
And then he goes to space.
And then he goes to space, and literally the only and then and
somewhere,
all he wants is his machete, man, and nobody will let him have his machete.
And somewhere in between there, he fights Freddy. Somewhere in that convoluted timeline.
Well, the people that wrote Freddy versus Jason, this is a great segue.
There you go.
Wrote this Friday the 13th fucking movie. So Damian Shannon and Mark Swift, who
both did story and screenplay.
Story and screenplay. Also, notably Freddy versus Jason, and then they also did Baywatch, which I thought was interesting. So they kind of like are an interesting like reboot people as well.
But even this too. So they have another one coming up called Genie, and it's about how Genie got trapped in the lamp from Aladdin.
Interesting.
So you're kind of like,
is it going to be starring Will Smith?
I don't know. But it's like a lot of their projects are just kind of like these weird like piggybacking off things that have already kind of been established.
It's kind of like they're like the fanfic guys.
Yeah. But they get their fanfic turned into movies.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's so bizarre. It's so interesting.
So Damian Shannon and Mark Swift, and also I believe they worked as producers on this as well. Or maybe they just like had a little bit of creative, like they talked a lot about how they wanted to make Jason a different type of Jason. They didn't want the lumbering Jason. They wanted Jason to, be quick, more scary, but they also wanted to do like a lot of nods and Easter eggs and homages to the first 4 Friday the 13th movies. So like there's little moments where it's like, one of the characters that gets killed in number 2 is a guy in a wheelchair in the little burrows. There's a wheelchair. The boat that they kind of like walk by at the beginning of the movie is the same make and model of the boat that the girl's floating at the end of part 1 in. Yeah, that fly is coming all over you. That was a weird way to say that.
So I'm not seeing them
as producers.
I am seeing Michael Bay.
Oh, yeah, Michael Bay, because Michael Bay was also a producer for Texas Chainsaw.
And Sean S. Cunningham.
Yeah.
Cunningham.
Yeah.
Was also a producer.
So I guess, like, just as the screenplay writers, they were probably just, like, really involved with it. And then also Mark Wheaton is on there as a screenplay writer and document, and I didn't see anything memorable. Like a bunch of TV movie stuff, it seemed like.
Yeah.
The fly's coming at me now.
I'm not sure if you can see it or we just look crazy.
Really, there's a fly. Shh, what was that?
The wind. Sorry, totally lost.
Mark Wheaton. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Don't care about bringing him up anymore.
I don't.
Over it. Are you over it?
I'm over it.
Okay. Well, let's go into who this movie stars.
Well, this is what I was going to say at the beginning. There's an interesting conversation because I don't really have much to say about the movie itself, but I have stuff to say about this era.
Like the late 2000s?
2000 to the late 2000s, because it's such an interesting, because like doing research on it and looking at like the movies, like so many horror movies came out in the 2009 era.
Yeah.
But like a lot came out, but some of them are really, really good. And some of them, it's like, it's really just like yes or no. So there are good ones, and then there are bad ones, and there's not really like an in between to me.
Well, I think I know where you're going with this. So continue your thoughts, so I can,
No, just that. It's just because what made me realize this is that so many of these kids or these young adults in this movie have been in so many other slasher monster flick at some point in the 2000s, and I just thought
because their age being the young teenager.
Well, and every single one of them is
student.
typecasted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
every single one of, and it's
why do you think Cabin in the Woods exists?
No, I know, yeah, but that movie's a joke on it. It's making a joke about that, but it's even like Trent
because it happens.
I know, but it's just like Trent. I was like, oh yeah, you're the dickhead in Accepted. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're also the dickhead in this. Yeah, and you're the dickhead in that. Like I just thought it was so funny.
Daniel Panabaker being the innocent girl that just the
little mousy girl next door, virgin, mm-hmm. It's
but no, it's kind of going to what you're talking about with there was either good or bad horror movies getting made around this time. Is we already had this whole thing of serialized bad horror movies, this what almost feels like B horror movies, this rise through the 90s and the early 2000s, where people are like, well, you're either going to make something like Saw, or you're going to make something like House of Wax, which is another remake, mm-hmm. Something like that, or you're going to try to make something what would you say a really good horror movie that came out in the 2000s was?
The Darkness? No, Darkness Falls.
I would not consider that a good one.
I think that's a good one because it was also an original idea. It wasn't it wasn't House of Wax. It wasn't Friday the 13th, and it was an original Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah,
I like the they're not good, but I like the originality of the creature.
So I see. Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what makes it interesting to me. I don't really fucking care to see Jason again.
I'm trying to think about what an actual good horror movie around that time came out.
Ring
was scary.
Ring was,
but that was a remake.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I was in high school. That was a remake of Japanese film, yeah, and so was Grudge.
God, there's a lot of remakes that came out around this time.
I mean, that was also during the time of America looking at other countries and being I like that movie, let's make it in America.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. Then if you argue with me,
okay.
28 Days Later.
I can't argue because I've actually never watched it all the way through because I get really bored within the first 15 minutes of it.
You get bored of Rick waking up from the hospital, basically? That's what you're telling me?
Yeah. I don't know. Every time I try to watch it, I think it's also something about the cinematic value of it because it is indie low budget, but that is not to discredit. I actually, from everything that I've heard about it, it does sound like an amazing film.
It's intense.
Yeah.
It's a really good rage virus.
Mm-hmm.
It's really intense.
Well, let's get back on track here because we're supposed to be talking about the starring actors of Friday the 13th remake.
I wanted to talk about 2000. You know what? We're not talking about Friday the 13th anymore. We're going to talk about 2000 horror movies. Okay? Go on. Oh, Amityville Horror, another fucking remake.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so lead actors in this. First, I would say Jared Padalecki. Who was he in Supernatural already? Yeah, Supernatural started in 2005, didn't it?
I can double check really quick because
Supernatural's been going on for a long time, and it's a show that I never got into. That I've had a lot of friends tell me that I would probably like it a lot.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
2005 till 2020.
Yeah, and it's had a bunch of TV movies and shit, and crossovers. I think the last season finally aired this last year.
Good God, that's such a long time. Wow, that's 15.
Right?
And I saw a video of one of them. I can't remember if it was this guy or the brother.
Jensen Ackles.
Yeah.
So it's either this guy or the guy from in The Boys now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Holy crap, he got old. I didn't realize that was him. Whoa. But yeah, he was at some Comic-Con and he was like, yeah, so when the show aired, some of you are 15 now. And I was just like, that can't be right. That's 100% right.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, go ahead.
Jared Padalecki, Supernatural. He was also in Gilmore Girls, which
I don't remember him in that.
I don't know. I just find it amusing because I always think Daniel I never knew what Gilmore Girls was, but I always just put Daniel Panabaker in it, even though it's the girl, a different girl.
Mm-hmm. House of Wax.
And then he's in House of Wax, which we were just talked about.
That's not a bad one.
That was. Paris Hilton gets killed in it, which is whatever. She's whatever.
Yeah.
And then Alicia Cuthbert is in it. I really don't remember a lot of the storyline to it though.
It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but with the House of Wax.
Or the house I just remember the house melting at the end.
Yeah, the house is the museum is made of wax. It was cannon fodder slasher whatever.
Yeah, and then next I would say Daniel Panabaker, who she's really popular now in the Arrowverse.
Yeah,
she plays
she's
Killer Frost.
Killer Frost, yeah.
Which I didn't. I mean, I haven't really watched any of the Arrowverse or for the Flash or anything like that.
I tried to watch the Flash, but it's just too Saturday morning cartoony for me. On this episode, we're gonna fight.
Well, because they're all CW shows.
Yeah,
so like they have a very specific brand of what CW does.
I don't really like CW.
But yeah, she's also like most recognizably for me is she's like the love interest in Sky High. She's the redhead that gets like the poison ivy powers, the plant powers towards the end. But like since she doesn't have her powers yet, she gets put into this sidekick class with the kid that is supposed to, if you've seen Sky High, you know what I'm talking about.
She's in Justified,
which I don't remember. I've never watched that show.
You'd like Justified.
Yeah,
it was a cool show. I only watched the first couple seasons, but it's also just FX. Their shows just go on for fucking ever.
Oh, that was a FX show?
Yeah, with Timothy Chalamet. No, not Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Oliphant?
Yeah, thank you. I was like, whoa.
Very different people.
He plays a U.S. Marshal.
Oh, okay. And then Amanda Rigetti, who's most popular from probably The Mentalist. She plays the sister of Jared Padalecki's character.
Never watched The Mentalist.
Neither did I. But she was also in the OC for a couple of years.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
I watched, I think, only like the first season and a half of the OC.
Never watched any of it.
I think because when I was in high school is when it started. So like when I was a junior, like that was kind of like everybody was watching it, and I was like, I don't really care. But then like girlfriend was watching it. I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna watch it.
It's amazing what your partners get you to watch.
Right. And before we get into who plays Jason, do you have any quick shout outs for anybody else?
Oh, like I was saying,
Trevor, whatever.
Travis Van Winkle. Travis. He's always like the jockey dickhead.
I mean, Aaron Yu, right? He kind of like had an actual like decent career coming out of this. He doesn't look the same at all now.
Oh no, Aaron Yu?
Yeah,
dude, he looks good.
Yeah,
he looks like intense now.
No, he's like baby face in this movie.
Well, because he also he's always he was in Disturbia, that Shia LaBeouf movie.
Yeah,
he's the same kind of character, kind of goofy, kind of nerdy
he's
kid.
The goofy sidekick type.
Yeah, but like now he's like, you look at him, you're like, all right, like you look like you could be like a pretty good villain in something. He looks intense. Yeah, but like Travis Van Winkle. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, Jonathan Sadowski, Chernobyl Diary. She's the man. These kids, like, they're not kids anymore, but they've been in stuff. And it's one of those I recognize. I'm like, I know you from something, but. And then I look it up and I'm like, oh, Final Destination, or
exactly.
like
it's like some other random horror
movie from the 2000s, or
So I guess like we can just move into the man who took the mask, and he actually took over the mask because originally Jason has been famously played by Kane Hodder since like 4 or 5, I want to say. And Kane like really like found his own way of like playing Jason, like the walk that Jason has, like Kane Hodder created, and like the way that he like attacks somebody suddenly. It's like that's all a Kane Hodder creation. And actually in this documentary, he was kind of I don't want to say offended or nice. Jesus Christ. Should that be the promo?
Gives you wings.
We're gonna get flagged.
Good job myself. Okay, sorry.
That's good though. He was kind of like they didn't ask him to play Jason. Like he wasn't approached. They wanted to recast Jason, and he was kind of like, well, like I'm not that old. Like,
yeah,
come on, guys. Like,
let me do it. I want
to. It's like this is the guy that I've been doing. And like he was all the way through Jason 10, pretty much. Like I think from 4 through 10. Like
yeah,
but. Like they wanted to create a new type of Jason though. Like like I was saying earlier, Damian Shannon and Mark Swift, as they were writing the script, they wanted Jason to seem more grounded in a reality in this. And the whole idea of like this is a kid who's been surviving for years. So like that's where this whole like hunter survivalist thing comes from. And so then Derek Mears they found. And he actually has a really interesting like conversation about like when they asked him like, why do you believe somebody like should like an actual actor should be cast as Jason and not just a body in a mask? And he's like, well, kind of like, because he's like, he went to like, he's done like mask work, and what is it, green? Let me pull it up real quick. Where is she at? I should have had it there just ready. Yeah, so Mears said portraying Jason is similar to green mask work, in which the mask and the actor are separate entities. And depending on the scene, there will be various combinations of mask and actor in the performance. Mears said the energy from the actor's thoughts will be picked up by the camera. He compared his experience behind the camera to a stock car racer. He is the driver, and the effects team is the pit crew. As he performs, the effects team subtly suggests ways he can give the character more life on camera. Which is a very, like, massive... I remember I did mask work as an actor in college, and it is very interesting how much, like, just putting on the mask will, like, inform you as the actor and, like, give you maybe a different energy, because now this... you have this... It's not you anymore, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole...
Yeah. And
the
then
allegory behind masks.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and just like, but then like there's specific things of like, you know,
I guess can be deadlier.
How like the way the lighting is with like the mask and whatnot in filming specifically, and then how like in Halloween, Michael Myers, the head tilt, and how just creepy that is to see the shadow and like this weird thought process come through this mask, you know, and that's like what he's talking about. And so Derek Mears was a wonderful fucking choice, which, going into things that he's done, he was Swamp Thing in the most recent Swamp Thing series.
He was Metalhead in Wild Wild West.
Yeah, no, I love that. I was actually kind of curious, like, what have we reviewed with it? And he was also, he played, like, one of the werewolves in Cursed.
In Cursed, yeah. I thought that was funny.
And he's also the classic Predator in the movie Predators, the one with Adrian Brody. He's
the chameleon Hillside Heights too. With the big bald guy. Well, he's either like thug number 3, inmate number 2, or werewolf guy. You know what I mean? But I was also thinking, like, I've always thought this, how fun it would, especially at my older age, how I've gotten bigger. I was like, man, it'd be really fun to be one of those guys. The creature guy.
Just be the creature guy. The big guy that...
Yeah, just to like see yourself transformed into these, you know, because, you know, he was even in Men in Black as the tendril guy. Yeah. That he like pulls the tendrils and he shoots up into the ceiling. But it was just like, I just thought, how fun would that be to like go see the movie and see yourself as this alien, as this werewolf, as this, you know, I just like that would be a really fun like job to have. And then also to create, you know, the movement of the Predator, and because even then you
recreate it. You know?
Yeah, because that's what you'd want to do too. You'd want to sit there and watch a few of the Predator, or all the Predator movies to see how they move. The other actors, how they made them move, and like, okay, I kind of want to incorporate that to make it more like fluid.
And you can really see like Derek Mears in this, like where he watched what Kane Hodder had done and kind of created that like that intense like look through the mask, but kind of like added his own like in the moment of like the hunting, like, oh, and now Jason is like
activated.
Yeah. Hunting mode, activate.
Killing mode. But yeah, I think that'd be fun. Like thing to do.
Yeah. Well, where are we at for? What do you got for your reviews for this movie?
Time is gonna. Okay, so 1 positive.
Good.
15 mixed. 13 negative.
Yeah.
I was kind of. I kind of wanted to talk to you about this before.
Beer?
So the positive one I'm going to read a little bit more of than I usually do because it's kind of out of context. Like it just, you know, the sentence it pulls out doesn't really make sense on its own, in my opinion. But Clark Collis at Entertainment, Friday the 13th shares a grungy, competent vibe with that previous effort as Derek Mears' Jason sets about dispatching the large number of folks who make the mistake of smoking marijuana or flashing their memories in the vicinity of Camp Crystal Lake. True, the characters often act in unbelievable and downright suicidal ways, Where's he going? Ponders Jared upon first espying a corpse carrying Mr. Voorhees. Really? That's the question? Not how the blue blazes do we get out of here? However, this film is head and shoulders above the recently reanimated likes of Prom Night and My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah.
It's like, so he gave they gave it a 75 out of 100, and it's like, yeah, but like
I can dig that.
The two you pulled out though was Prom Night and My Bloody Valentine. Like, but yeah, I don't know. I just was like,
I feel like that's kind of, I mean, he points out what the problems are with like the logic of the characters, but that's also kind of like what these movies are generally doing. And it's kind of like it's what you expect from a movie, like slasher film like this. Like, this is before people wanted to start seeing, well, maybe people were probably wanted to see more of it, but like true logic from like characters. Like, this is still at a time where that's not happening yet. Like, there's fan service being done. Does that make sense?
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, because you want this kid to die.
yeah,
Type of thing.
and I guess
It's like when I cheered when the girl got stabbed at the beginning of Scream 5.
yeah, that was. But yeah, that's like, you know, because then you have these other movies that were coming out that were making, like, you know, Cabin in the Woods, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, where it's like the tropes were being made fun of, so they were fun to watch. But then when you're watching this and you're trying, I don't know, you're kind of trying to watch a scary movie to get some kind of like emotional response, and they're just doing them, it kind of gets annoying. You're like, yeah, like that was a perfect example. Where's he going? And the girl's like, can we get the fuck out of here?
I'm gonna take a shower.
Yeah, you know, it's that whole thing. Like, the light switch isn't working. Oh, well, you know, it's just like stupid. So for mixed, Rob Nelson at Variety, as in his Chainsaw remake, Nispels? How do you pronounce that again? The director?
Yeah, Nispel.
Nispel's scare tactics amount to little more than carefully timed cattle prod shocks, aided by high-volume speaker blasts that were beyond the budgetary reach of the early 80s films.
Okay. Yeah.
So they just put more money into it. Another
Yeah,
mix.
I mean, that's a very accurate one.
I was stuck between these two because I kind of agreed with both of them. Renee Rodriguez, also a mixed review, the Miami Herald. A surprisingly straightforward romp and slasher flick cliches. Friday the 13th is replete with gee-whiz gore, gratuitous sex and nudity, and party-loving teens with a penchant for ending up on the wrong side of a pickaxe. And it's like, yeah, that's
that's the movie you watched.
That's the that should have been the synopsis of the movie. And then where is he? Or James Bertadellini. I don't know why I always pick you because I can never say your name right.
Ooh, you all right?
Ear ringing really bad.
Ear damage from the concert.
Yeah, right. Real reviews. If all you're looking for, this one's funny. If all you're looking for is breasts, bloods, and gore, this film hits pay dirt. None of the killings are terribly inventive, but they are plentiful. And why bother being devious when axes, machetes, knives, and pointed sticks will do the job just as well? Blood and boobs.
Yeah, that's sometimes what.
It's blood and boobs.
That's sometimes all you want. Sometimes all you need.
But yeah,
not in this day. I mean, I haven't actually. There has been like a slasher film like this because obviously like the gratuitous boob shots is very much harkened back to like the 80s and just into a misogynistic world of where women were just kind of being taken advantage of for just having their chest shown on stage or on film.
Well, and I think it's also just like the stereotypical tropes have just been kind of like, because even like what's his butt when his talks like yeah, I'm making a record label. She's like, oh, I'd like to do rap. And he's like, what? Just because I'm black, I had, or whatever he says.
I love that.
And then she's like, okay, fine. I'm sorry. Like, oh, because I'm black, I can't listen to Green Day.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I'm sorry. Well, what is it? Rap. And he walks away. I just don't feel like that kind of shit would really fly. No, like unless you're doing Cabin in the Woods, like if you're trying to make like a serious, I feel like people wouldn't like. I mean, everyone's just so fucking typecasted. It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. It's true.
It's crazy. Like every single person. I'm the troubled man looking for my sister, and I got a motorcycle, and I don't wear a helmet. You know.
So like a big thing, and just really quick, I do just want to just give a quick rundown of how this movie actually plays out because it literally does do 4 films into one movie. Because there's like a prologue and then like a pre-prologue and then a prologue and then the movie, you know? Which sound like when I first watched this back in the theaters, I was a lot more skeptical of it. It actually took a couple of years for me to like for it to be just out of my memory, not really like it, be like, yeah, whatever, it was a bad remake, and then rewatching it again, be like, actually, because like then looking at other remakes that were made, like Nightmare on Elm Street and whatnot,
I don't mind that one. I gotta watch it again, but I don't mind.
Like
that
I'm like, oh, this is a lot better. But then it comes to a question like, what do you want out of a remake as well? We'll get to that. Yeah. So it the first 3-4 minutes of the movie is like kind of like black and white. Is it black? It feels like it's just washed out color.
Mother craving violence.
Mother, I crave violence. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the back in the 80s type thing when Jason,
Who played the mother? Was that the actual
from the original?
Yeah, I don't.
No.
No. Did they dub her voiceover? Because it sounded a lot.
I think
like
it's just a woman who sounded a lot like her.
It was crazy. I was like, oh, it sounds like a lot like.
Yeah. So pretty much it's a camp counselor. The mother's chasing her down, but then the camp counselor, fights back against Jason's mother and hacks her head off in one clean shot with a machete. And then the camp counselor survives. And then it cuts to Jason picking up the locket with a picture of his mother being young and him being scratched away because we don't know what Jason's supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm. Except for brief little
glimpses, like shadowed glimpses, because he is got a bad deformity of his face.
Yeah.
And then we fast forward about 20 years to the kids going to find the weed in the forest, and it just happens to be next to Camp Crystal Lake, which actually has one of my favorite kills in a lot of horror movies recently, with the girl in the sleeping bag, how he roasts her. I feel I was super creative, actually.
Twisted fuck. Yeah.
You didn't think that was cool?
Marshmallow. I don't know. No. I mean, I guess if we're gonna fuck it, we're gonna do this. My favorite kill was Chewie, the stoner.
Oh, in the
shed.
In the shed.
That was mine.
That one actually is a pretty.
That
good
was
one.
the one I went. Like actually, like I don't.
There was a little bit of suspense in that actual build up too for like his death. I felt.
Yeah, like that was. I think like that was one of the best because it's like good to. It's the most prolonged, even though you know it's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. You're just sitting there like because there's so many things in there. Yeah, you're like, what's he gonna use?
Yeah.
You know, I liked that one a lot.
Yeah, but so yeah, this.
And I don't like saying I liked that. You know what I mean?
You enjoyed it. It's a creative kill. You know
the suspense behind it. And then, like it's rare for me at this point to be like.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they set up this whole thing as like we're gonna have this movie of teenagers that are gonna be doing debauchery and Jason's gonna kill them, and then it cuts really quickly as like Jason's about to slash at the final girl, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and this is like 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah,
until you finally get the title. I was like. It didn't even dawn on me we didn't get the title until that happened.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, that was a minute.
So we get pretty much like part 1 and part 2-ish kind of all together, and then then it sets up to the actual story of where you get what was his name? Clay is his character's name. Yeah, Jared Padalecki's character is looking for his sister, has been missing for a couple of weeks.
It was really funny too. Haven't seen this. This is just something that I just noticed in our years now doing this. Real quick. Clay Miller and Whitney Miller. Gosh dang. I wonder who's the most important characters because no one else has a last name except for Jason Vorhees.
Yeah, right?
It was like, cool. So now we know who the two main
characters
people are going to be that you really want to follow.
And he's looking for his sister, and then he runs into the new college co-eds that are going to go out partying and what have you, and then conflict happens. And then just Jason starts murdering everybody. How he finds the mask, his hockey mask, is interesting. I mean, so for me, it's interesting to kind of see these ways that they made these choices because I have watched these movies, originals, so much growing up.
Because Jason just walks out of the barn with the mask in the original, right? Like he doesn't actually
No, he kills one of the kids and takes it from him after he kills him with a harpoon.
Harpoon
gun. The kid's name was Shelly, and he was the overweight kid that everyone was making fun of.
Well, Jason doesn't discriminate.
Nope. Jason kills everybody. But so I guess going back for like reviews, like this movie, it doesn't bring anything new to the genre. It's kind of like its biggest like flaw.
That's what I was gonna say like earlier, and I guess we're kind of getting to this because even this review right here by Wesley Morris at the Boston Globe, the movie might have worked if it winked more or if it played things completely straight.
Yeah.
But even then, so I think my problem is that when we talked about this movie, I kind of misunderstood what this movie was going to be. Because even when they're around the campfire and they're talking about, you know, the legend of Crystal Lake,
Mm-hmm.
he drowned, but he came back. I'm like, so because I was kind of under the impression that this was strictly just like Jason as like a hunter.
That it wasn't retelling his
Yeah, like I
story?
thought it was going to be kind of like the best way I could kind of figure out to describe it. I thought it was going to be kind of like Friday the 13th meets The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, I don't know where you got that.
The hunter thing. Like he's at Crystal Lake. It's his own little area. He's territorial of it, which all really happened. But there's like, that's what I meant about the identity thing. It kind of leaned into this new idea of Jason, but then would kind of swerve really hard back into the original idea and then kind of come out again. And I just felt like it needed to commit.
Stayed very much in the lane of the original Jason.
No, but like the running, yeah, I don't know. But then it's like he's human, but he's not human.
You keep getting this thing in your head of, I think, of like how like Jason turned into a zombie into later films where he was not a zombie. He was just like an unstoppable force in the first four.
Yeah, but that's that conversation of Michael Myers as a man, but he's pure evil, so he can get shot in the head and he's fine.
Yeah,
exactly. So he's not a man. He's possessed by a demon.
But Michael Myers eventually turns into something more. The original Michael Myers in Hollywood. Halloween. Why can't I say Halloween?
Well, holiday's coming up, buddy.
Did I just have a stroke? Jesus. Halloween Part 1 and 2, he is just a man that can take a shot to the chest somehow. But
that's always the thing. It's always a somehow.
it's because it's this idea of like they are a very big, ominous entity. Like they are larger than life, and because of like what they've gone through or like just whatever mental problems they have. I mean, you could argue that this is just a bad representation of people with mental disabilities as well. You know, like this is Lenny from Of Mice and Men as a slasher killer, dude.
Oh
like,
my God, that's awesome. I never thought about that.
So like the biggest thing is like, it's interesting. Like it's weird that you had that journey of like going through this movie. Because, and I really think that whole like of who Jason turned into in the later of the franchise that came out, and me knowing that because that Jason is like, it's weird that he's like an unstoppable human. Like, because at the end of the third one, he's hit in the head with a fucking axe and he falls down, and it's assumed that he's to be dead, you know?
Yeah.
But then as the final girl is getting driven off by the police, and they go to they say like, she said there was a dead body in there, and there's not a body in there. What are you talking about? And it pans over, and like where his body was lying is just an axe, and he's gotten up and he's alive still. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of like the he'll be back for one more. And that's why Part 4 is supposed to be the final chapter as well.
I guess that's my problem with it, though. I was kind of hoping with this, and again, there's a miscommunication with that when we talked about it and how I was perceiving the information you were giving me. I was going in kind of expecting kind of a more grounded in reality hunter Jason.
I feel like that he is though.
He still feels like Jason to me because there's even moments where
he like pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
when he just randomly shows up on the
roof.
That's one of the most ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. There's these moments, you know, because then you find out he has these tunnels, and that's how he's popping up. But then suddenly in 15 seconds, he's on top of the roof.
It's like that's a weird there's weird moments like that where I feel like it's just kind of like, oh, you just got to eat the carrot.
But that's what I mean about the swerving thing.
Yeah.
Like there's these moments of in reality, and then suddenly he turns into old Jason again, where he can just pop up
out of nowhere. Yeah,
and that's what I was like when I was going into it. I was really expecting because even then it's like, you know, the kid from Superstore. He gets like caught in the bear trap while he's watching his girlfriend get roasted. Or like,
oh my god, that was him.
Yeah,
holy shit.
I can't remember what his name is. Or they're running through the woods and they trip the wire in the tunnels. It lets them, that kind of stuff. I wanted more of that. I wanted more of Jason kind of having all of Crystal Lake Woods rigged in his favor to the most dangerous game.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of going and expecting, and I think that would have been very interesting to make him like, no, he is this kid.
And there's only like a little like hint of that.
Yeah, like I feel like they really should have leaned into it because this kid that has this thing going on. Mm-hmm. Mom went psycho, killed everyone. He got like abandoned at this rundown camp. Oh,
and he still keeps her head. They keep it very natural to the original ones where he has like a shrine of her decapitated head.
Yeah,
and he's like, mother.
Listen to
mother is talking to me. Kill the children. Kill the campslers.
But yeah, it's like I just think if it was just this kid that in a sense kind of like living off the land kind of goes feral and it just becomes territorial of his space.
There was a little bit of extra stuff that they wanted to do with that in the script I read about, but just budget wise they couldn't fit it in.
Well, and I guess that's what I mean.
Like there was like a dead deer carcass they wanted to be like found.
Like he was living off the and that's the thing is like I think that's what I meant earlier when I said it had like a problem with identity, because to me it was doing these things kind of leaning towards the survivalist crazy dude in the woods, but then it still kind of went to superhuman PCP Jason that also he gets cut and it's gushing blood, like he got hit in the main artery,
but then he's running around,
fine,
lumbering around still.
I don't know. That's kind of like I think that was my biggest disappointment, because I was like that movie sounds interesting to me. Yeah, survivalist human Jason that's just really smart at hunting humans as opposed to
just smart at hunting.
Yeah, it's smart at hunting.
It doesn't matter if it's human or deer or what have you. It's just like. You're in his territory. He can,
and
hunt
he has
you
it
down.
all rigged, and you know what I mean. Like I just think you could have gotten really creative. Also, it would have made creative kills too.
Yeah, and that's actually an interesting thing. Is like a lot of the kills in this, I feel, are a lot more like callbacks and homages to. They spent more time doing like homage to the original, like 4, than really trying to create something unique and new. So like, and that's where it's like when I was like, well, when it comes to a remake, what kind of remake what do you want out of a remake? Do you want it to try and do something new and original, or do you want it to be more of like the classic retelling of what is comfort food for you? Like, so when someone's remaking something, like what are we, like as an audience? I'm not, just generally asking rhetorically. I mean, if you have a feeling about it, please share it. But it's like, as an audience, what are we looking for?
New and original. I don't mind like a little, like as even the Adrian Brody Predator.
It's not a remake though.
No, but I mean like, the end is a complete and utter homage to the first one. Yeah, but like, I'm trying to think of it, like Amityville Horror.
Okay, RoboCop. RoboCop is a very unique new take on.
I want an utterly new take. I guess I kind of answered your question previously. It's like I liked the idea of the hunter Jason, blah blah blah.
But that's not also like that's not an utterly new retelling of Jason. That's just fine tuning this Jason they created. Because this Jason is because he's not a hunter. He's not a hunter in the originals. He's just a killer.
Well, like
they added more layers to him in this, actually.
Well, I had this idea because before finishing it, when you're having her whole the end of her killing spree, she never actually says like you like killed my boy or whatever. She's like, how did you let this happen to my boy? Blaming them for something. It's never really clear what she's blaming them for.
For him drowning. They were too busy having sex.
But with the dialogue, you could have made it like his deformity, his damage to whatever his body happened. He didn't die, but he got damaged under their watch. And I was like, oh, that'd be interesting if like they get rid of this whole drowning thing altogether, and she's blaming them for his current condition. That was just me kind of like, that
would be definitely recreating the character.
Yeah. Like, and that's why I thought that, again, it's still in the mindset that he's just a hunter protecting his land kind of thing. So that was, sometimes you're watching a movie and you're kind of writing it in your head along with what you're being presented.
No, I don't rewrite movies while I watch them.
No,
Really, no.
I do that. I
no,
do that all the
because
time.
I want to know. I want to watch what the people created.
No, because I'm saying one of my points is with the dialogue. I was kind of like, oh, what could she mean by this? And then my head went down.
I see.
Down a rabbit hole. Of like, oh, maybe this might be what they're going with it.
Oh, you're trying to decipher what they're saying. Yeah.
But I guess just something like new.
You like if it's a remake, you kind of want it to be a refresh. But then like things like Child's Play, like that's like that remake. They took the whole thing of what Child's Play was out of it, unless you just I don't know.
I mean, but you also picked a franchise I couldn't give two shits about
For Child's Play.
Yeah, like, I don't care about Child's Play.
Yeah, well, but even I'm just like in remakes in general, it's like.
Like the Conan, like even if you read the Conan Barbarian synopsis, it's the original, and like, I don't need to no, I already have the original.
But now they're trying to make it look more gritty and grounded,
and they're trying to like update the special effects.
Yeah,
but even then, it's like I'm a sucker for in camera effects and seeing what they could do at the time. So I like that was cool for 1981.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need the snake to like
yeah.
It's like if they went and if they George Lucas to Willow and they made that 2-headed dragon thing suddenly like super clean and crisp. You're like, the hell? It's like a creature out of time. Like, it just wouldn't.
Kind of like, how the fucking Star Wars.
Yeah, dude, God, that is so jarring.
Yeah,
I can't watch them. Like I really can't.
I feel like they've done a pretty good job over the years of getting it to finally blend in a little bit better.
That's fair.
Because they kept touching them up over and over.
Come on, we now need to catch up to what we did 10 years ago or whatever it was.
But, for this movie in general, it's like it follows the formula for slashers to a T. Especially the Friday the 13th, because of like the sex scenes, and you just like, oh well, we know those kids are gonna die.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
One thing I was surprised was actually the choice of the final girl being the final people being the brother and sister.
I was very surprised when what's her butt died.
Daniel Panabaker.
Ow! What is happening to me today?
Jeez. You all right?
Yes. Ignore me.
New body?
Yeah.
All right. But yeah.
Like Jenna dying. I was very surprised by that. I was like, oh, shit.
Because you thought she was going to be the final girl.
Yeah.
But no, but then like what's interesting is like part 4, the final people that survive are brother and sister, Tommy Jarvis and his sister.
Oh, so that's another homage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I just kept kind of thinking, it's like I keep thinking like, well, what was maybe something original for this? And I'm like, no, that's actually and it's just Clay instead of Tommy. And even like I think Whitney was her name, Whitney Jarvis.
Oh, how about the whole keeping the sister alive because it reminded him of a mother?
That's part 2. The girl in part 2, she puts on the sweater and she starts calling Jason, and because she actually kind of looks like
it's like working
a young, so that's a callback to part 2. The barn. With the wood chipper, even though there isn't a wood chipper in part 3, the barn and the ending of this is kind of a callback to part 3, where he is, it ends in a barn. He's kind of hung, and then he like lifts himself off the the choking. He lifts himself off of the noose, and then he comes after her, and then she hits him with the axe and whatnot. But like in this one, it's like she hits him in the chest, and he goes into the wood chipper. Your favorite kill is actually a harken back to one of the kills in part 2. I don't know.
It's just a bunch of like
the very end of the movie when they kick Jason. Also, this is kind of ridiculous. He doesn't actually get pulled into the wood chipper fully. He just gets choked out. That's right. But
I think it kind of is kind
back of the head.
Yeah, I think it's.
But what's interesting is that they choose to take his body from the wood chipper instead of call the cops immediately and be like, this guy fucking tried to kill us, and take him to the lake.
Like they're hiding the evidence.
It's kick his dead body into the lake.
You are the only 2 living out of like 10 other people that have been brutally murdered in the last evening. Keep the body of the killer and be like, hey, this dude,
and also be like, hey, look, my sister's still fucking alive here.
This psycho in the hockey mask. He did it. We didn't do it.
Wait, what does she say? It's like, we don't like to be bothered around here, and neither does he.
Who's he?
Who? Dog barking.
She looks familiar too.
I think she's actually in
I think
Texas.
she's in Texas. She's one of the
I'm
she's
pretty
his mother.
Yeah,
I
I don't
think
think she's a mother.
She's not the mother.
I don't think
Like
so.
the wife.
I think she's just one of the people like the angry people in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But yeah, to go back to I would.
No, yeah, they kick him into the fucking lake, but then like the final jump scare of him
is an homage to
the first one, the end of the first one.
Yeah.
Well, and even the end of the second one, because the end of the second one, the mother jumps out of the. Well, it's more of a jump scare of her having a dream, and like the mother comes out of the lake and pulls her into the lake, but then she wakes up and it was all a dream. Mm-hmm. But then they never found Jason's body, and Jason's still alive. Oh, and the bandage wrapped face, that's an homage to part 2, because he just kind of walked around with like a sack over his face. And even partly through the third one until he gets the hockey mask.
Yeah, I guess with like a remake. Well, no, because I don't know. That's I guess it's more of like a question of remake versus reboot.
Yeah,
because even like
this is a remake, not a reboot.
Because like Dread,
or is this this would be more of a I guess it's a reboot.
It's a reboot. That's why that's in my thing. That's why I was like remake, retelling, reboot. I feel
like a reboot kind of like
it's a little bit of everything.
I think a reboot is more like you follow like your like Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, like this new Halloween. This is a reboot. That is a reboot because we're going from the first 2 Halloween movies and we're continuing a storyline from that.
Or like the new Blade series coming out. Well, if it's not connected to, would that be a reboot?
That'd be a remake. Because you're remaking. So we have.
No, but wouldn't a remake imply that they're going to follow the first movie?
Not necessarily. They're remaking this character story. So Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. We have that. Amazing Spider-Man, a remake. It's not it's a remake because they're remaking the story. Then we have Tom Holland Spider-Man. They now remade Spider-Man again. Well, now they're all together. And I guess now you can. There's a reboot.
So then what is a reboot?
A reboot is continuing something inside of it. So the Craft Legacy, it's technically a sequel, but they reboot the Craft story. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm arguing semantics in a big way because you could argue that reboot and remake is the same thing.
Well, because I was gonna say like Dread was a really cool because it's the character Dread, but it's like a totally different.
They remade it.
Thing. But you're like saying like it's totally original, but it's a totally different. I don't know.
I know. I feel like the word reboot means you're taking. I mean, it's in a sense like you're taking a license and you're giving it it's like you're hitting restart. Turn it on and off again. Remake is you're taking it all down and you're rebuilding it back up.
But then it's like the whole Conan the Barbarian thing, shot for shot. It's going to be not shot, you know what I mean? But that's a remake.
Yeah, because they tore it all down and they remade it again.
Yeah. But then again, it's semantics. So you can be like, oh no, it's a reboot of the. Yeah, it's kind of
because they turned it off and turned it back on.
Yeah, it's like it really is just semantics.
All right, let's get into where we're at feeling for like Carrot and stuff for this. Let's
2 out of 5.
2 out of 5, really?
Yep.
Wow, I didn't think it was that bad.
It's not terrible. I just think it's bad. It's just not.
I think it's like a 3 out of 5 for me. I mean, it's it's a super like it's right in the middle, but I think it's Snickers. It's there to satisfy.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but it's just like there's other slashers movies I like better.
Fair.
So this one was like a bad one. I mean, it's not like I said, I didn't think it's terrible, and I think it should be burned or thrown in the lake. But I just thought it was bad, and it was just kind of like.
I mean, there's moments like one of my favorite moments is when he throws the axe at the kid, and then he just kind of lets him scream for help, and they're like, no, the Clay's like, no, he's trying to bait us out there. Don't fucking go out there.
Yeah, I mean,
or when
I might be doing myself a disservice and just being like, I like my movie better.
Possibly.
Like I like the idea that I had in my head, that I got in my head a lot better, and I would really like to see. So if they're ever gonna like reboot it or make it.
There is talks of them redoing Friday 13th again.
I want them to do that, but they're not going to.
No, because you're not writing it. They might. You never know. Take a gamble. You might see it.
But yeah, it's a 2 out of 5 for me. 2 carrots.
Okay.
I don't know, and it's like there's just moments where it comes off like a kind of hypocritical, but I had a hard time eating the carrot with this one.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I was just kind of like, I don't know. I have a hard time with, especially like these two specifically, Jason and Michael. I have a really hard time with. Like Freddy, I'm like, yeah, he's a dream demon. He's a dream demon. Cool. You do whatever you want. Like, but I have a hard time with, like, especially, you clarifying with me that he's like a zombie later, and it's like, well, he's just a man. And it's like, no, he's not just a man. He took a shotgun to the chest 2 minutes ago. And he's fine.
It was all buckshot. Come on.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't care how fucking big you are. Like, there's a point. An axe to the head, you're at least going to have a headache. All right? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't.
Splitting headache.
Yeah. I just, with those two, I just always had a really hard time with, Michael gets thrown out of the 2-story building onto his back, and then 30 seconds later, he's gone. And it's like, at least he'd be like, Jesus. Oh, God. Like, my back. Oh, my back.
Maybe that's what he was probably like,
ooh. That'd be a fun skit
I need to get away out here.
That'd be a fun skit to do, the in-betweens of what they're doing. So you know how like it looks like they're teleporting? Mm-hmm. So it just shows like, the girl looks, he's there, and he's suddenly gone, and, he's like now on the other side of the building or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's just him, like right before he comes into the doorway, he's just...
I feel like they've done that shit in Robot Chicken and whatnot.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time with it. Because at least, in my head too, I'm like, in the game, you can, as Jason, you get this power where you turn into, the...
Oh, yeah. In the game, it's like...
Evil Dead.
Yeah. You can like teleport, or, like move between places in Camp Crystal Lake.
And it's
like a speed... a fast travel. It's like a fast travel.
Yeah, but it has that like look of a Evil Dead, when you see the demons coming to possess somebody. But it's like, to me, it's like, okay, see, like when he's zombie mode, his spirit and stuff is tied to Crystal Lake. So
until he goes to Manhattan.
But so he has these powers at Crystal Lake, and then it's like, well, just don't go to Crystal Lake anymore, and you'll be good. And then it spirals out to fucking space, and it's just like, so yeah, I just have a hard time with these two. I mean, I gotta say, out of both of them, Michael's my favorite.
Michael's actually strangely stays more in a grounded reality ish. I mean, it's like he's the boogeyman, just like he's evil incarnate type thing. While Jason gets more and more ridiculous,
outlandish.
Yeah, like Michael Myers, like they're all just kind of the same story over and over and over again. It's like Michael's back. And like I think that's actually a thing. Is like for Friday the 13th, they tried to get more creative with it to one up. They were trying to one up themselves, while Halloween just kind of like
stuck true to what they knew kind of thing. Well, but even then with the Rob Zombie remake was really good. I really like these.
Oh yeah.
I like these new ones. I didn't realize that you could outdo Rob Zombie
these new ones are staying much more true to the John Carpenter feel and idea.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and because even that scene in the second one when you're on the street and you're watching him go through the houses.
Are you talking about the Rob Zombie one?
No.
Or the second one of the new ones?
With Jamie.
Okay.
But you're watching him walk through the houses.
Oh yeah,
and you're hearing muffled scream, like what you'd be hearing if you were sitting on the street watching it happen.
Yeah.
You see him like, first he grabs a knife and then he kills somebody, then he gets a hold of a hammer, and then he's just progressing through. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's terrifying. But
so yeah, next week we're gonna be talking about Carrie.
Yeah, we're gonna do the Carrie remake.
So do you have any feelings about remakes on that?
I remember really liking that one.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it.
And that one I remember it kind of. I might correct myself next week because I haven't seen it in forever. But I remember that kind of being a shot for shot in a sense. But they really were. They were able to put more of a budget on it, so her gravity of her powers is way more intense.
I'm really curious what you mean by that, because every time you bring up shot for shot, your term for shot for shot is very loose for what an actual shot for shot remake is. Like a shot for shot is literally they took the exact same storyboard and used that. Like the Psycho is a shot for shot remake.
Okay.
Like they literally took
What's an example of when I say shot to shot and it's not a shot for shot?
You've had a couple that you've brought up, and I'm like, it's not a shot for shot. That's just an homage. Okay, like they took a shot from the film.
It's very homage. It's very homage to the original.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not shot for shot, but Like, yeah, like I just remember like 2 or 3 very iconic scenes. Where like if you were to put them side by side, it looks cleaner.
Yeah, fair.
And like more, up to date, obviously, because it was how many years ago? But yeah, so we're gonna do.
So, how many years ago was that? We don't know. Well, we'll talk about that next week. We need to start wrapping up.
Is this gonna be our first Stephen King?
The first time? What's the first Stephen King?
Yeah.
The first Stephen King movie I've watched?
No, that we've done on this.
Oh, yeah, I think we talked about. I'm pretty sure it is. We've talked about Stephen King a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really talk about horror movies and horror without Stephen King.
But yeah.
So join us next week for Carrie.
Make sure like, subscribe on YouTube if you're watching us on YouTube, or just do it if you want to do that anyway. Follow us on Instagram. Get to us on Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
I'm still not used to this.
You did fine today. You did a little puma. And
we're gonna get in trouble.
We'll see what happens. I'm gonna make it. We'll see what happens. Thanks guys for listening. We'll get to you next week.
Happy spooky season.
Spooky.
This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape.